Hello! Welcome to Wheel Talk. I'm Rakapa Sadai. Today we're celebrating one of my favorite Wheel of Time characters, Nynaeve. Hell yeah! Some fans like to hate on Nynaeve. They're like, oh, she's so angry all the time. And you know what? That's fine. You're allowed to hate Nynaeve. She doesn't need your approval. She doesn't care what you think. She's Nynaeve, damn it! This is a spoiler episode. We are lousy with spoilers. If you haven't read all of the Wheel of Time books, you should not be watching this. I'm not kidding. This video will ruin you. We are about to discuss some of the best moments in the Wheel of Time. Today, I am going to rank Nynaeve's top 10 moments. If you haven't watched my other top 10 videos, you may be wondering, how is she going to fairly rank Nynaeve's best moments? It's impossible. You're wrong. Also, why haven't you watched all of my videos? What the hell? I have scored Nynaeve's best moments using the Recapometer. The Recapometer is an objective scale based on my emotions, from 1 to 10. So let's say I'm reading the Wheel of Time, and I'm like, Perrin, will you please just kill Slayer so we can be done with this? That would be a 1. But let's say I'm reading the Wheel of Time, and it's so good, I smash my wine glass against the wall, and I tear off all my clothes, and I go streaking through the halls of the White Tower, randomly shooting balefire as I go, and my sisters have to shield me and knock me out, and I wake up in the cells of the White Tower. That would be like a 6. And if I'm reading the Wheel of Time and it's so good, I just black out on the spot, that's a 10. When I'm reading Nynaeve chapters, I black out all the time. Enough of this! Let's get started. Nynaeve's top 10 moments. In 10th place, Nynaeve goes through the 3 arches and passes her accepted test. I love this! The first arch is my favorite because I live for battles with the One Power, and this is the first time we see Nynaeve use the power as a weapon. She was only half surprised to see a ball of fire leave her hand. It exploded against Agonor's chest, knocking him to the ground. Lightning leapt from the clouds, straight for Nynaeve's heart. She felt the flow inside her. Saidar, came a distant thought. Felt the answering flow in the lightning, and she altered the direction of the flow. He leapt away as lightning struck where he had stood. Grimly, Nynaeve started toward him, and Agonor fled. When she comes out of that first arch, she has this exchange with Shiriam. I channeled the power. It was so easy. Shiriam missed a step. That isn't supposed to be possible. You should not even remember being able to channel. Well, what are you gonna do about it, bitch? I'm Nynaeve Moira. I'm just kidding, she doesn't say that last part, but she should. On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, this is an 11. First time I read that, I blacked out hard. Next up, in 9th place, Nynaeve heals madness. Yes! This isn't Nynaeve's first miraculous healing, but it's still super cool to read. The darkness had tiny, thorn-like projections stuck into Naif's mind. She carefully used weaves of spirit to pry one free. One by one, she pried the others free, holding the barbs back lest they plunge down again. The dark patch undulated and shook like something alive. Then it vanished. Ew, creepy. I love it. I think it's a shame that the character Nynaeve is healing is so unmemorable. If there are any diehard Naif fans watching, sorry. But it's nice to see how transformed and happy Naif is. And as he leaves to find his wife, Nynaeve thinks, I can't let myself begin to think that nothing I do matters. That's what the Dark One wants. Yes, I love it. On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, this is a 16. Coming in at number 8. Nynaeve rescues Egwene from the Shanchan. Now in my top 10 Matt video, I praised the heist where Matt rescues 2 Aes Sedai from the Shanchan. But Wheel Talk, Matt had a lot of help. Nynaeve rescuing Egwene from the Shanchan, way more impressive. The Shanchan collar Egwene and Nynaeve and Elaine escape. Later, they reunite with Min. Nynaeve has been studying the Adom from a distance. She sees Sita walking a Damane, and she whips a trickle of Saidar against the collar. The Adom falls off, the Damane escapes, and they kidnap Sita. Then Nynaeve collars Sita with the Adom, which isn't supposed to be possible. But she's Nynaeve. She doesn't care what's possible. She poses as a Soldom with Sita as her fake Damane, and they smuggle out Egwene. Renna tries to stop them, but Egwene collars her with her own Adom. Nynaeve stops Egwene from beating up Renna, and then hangs both Adom on a peg. And she says to the Soldom, I think whoever finds you will ask a great many questions before they remove those collars. I think perhaps you will learn at first hand the life you have given to other women. That is justice. I feel like it's only really justice if Rena and Sita become Damane and are tortured ruthlessly for the rest of their lives, but I really respect where Nynaeve is coming from. On the Recappa-meter from 1 to 10, this is a 29. Sometimes people are like, Recappa, your scoring system doesn't make sense. I'm always like, shut up, you don't make sense. In 7th place, Nynaeve captures Mogadine in Teleron Riyadh. Work! One of my favorite Teleron Riyadh scenes. Nynaeve is giving Swan Teleron Riyadh lessons and she sees Mogadine's face in a window. Nynaeve's like, Swan, we gotta go. Swan's like, hell no, this is my Teleron Riyadh time. You're not gonna cheat me. So Nynaeve just rips off Swan's Terangrial necklace and Swan disappears. Then Nynaeve shifts herself elsewhere and wonders what to do. There's nothing for it but to just tell them I saw Mogadine, she muttered. I'd almost rather die. But you seem to enjoy running little errands for her. Nynaeve turns and sees Mogadine. She weaves a shield, but Mogadine slices it. It is time to collect you at last, it seems. Hold, Mogadine, Birgitta shouted. Birgitta shoots an arrow that vanishes before it hits Mogadine. Mogadine grips Birgitta in invisible bonds and lifts her into the air. There's only me. Nynaeve crawls toward Mogadine. Please, don't hurt me! Mogadine watched silently. Once I thought you were stronger than this. Now I find I truly like the sight of you on your knees. Nynaeve's hand wavered a span from Mogadine. It had to be close enough. There was only her and Teleron Riyadh. The image formed in her head, and there it was. Silver bracelet on her outstretched wrist. Silver leash linking it to the silver collar around Mogadine's neck. Yes! Hell yes! You, Mogadine. Then Nynaeve drags Mogadine to Camelin to fight Ravine. The whole time Mogadine's sniveling. She's like, no, please. And Nynaeve is just like, shut up. It's delicious. On the Recappa-meter from 1 to 10, this is a 41. Fabulous. Moving on. In 6th place, Mogadine balefires Nynaeve's boat to the bottom of a river. But instead of drowning, Nynaeve breaks her block. Cause she's Nynaeve. You can't sink Nynaeve and expect her to stay down. Compared to the other items on this list, Nynaeve doesn't have a ton of agency in this moment. It sort of happens to her. But Nynaeve deserves to break her block. We wait and wait for this moment, and when it finally comes, it's so satisfying. I think this part is beautiful and so in character for Nynaeve. She hammered a fist against the seat until she felt it bruise, fighting for the anger that would allow her to channel. She labored for breath. Flecks of black and silver danced in her eyes. No anger, she realized dimly. She kept trying to reach for Saidar, but without any belief that she would touch it now. She was going to die here after all. No hope, no Lan. And with hope gone, flickering on the edge of consciousness like a guttering candle flame, she did something she had never done before in her life. She surrendered completely. Saidar flowed into her. Yes! Finally! She blasts an opening in the boat, and somehow Lan is there at just the right moment to pull her out. And then she's super Nynaeve. She can channel whenever. Big mistake, Mogadine. Huge. I just spilled wine everywhere, but sometimes I get excited. What are you gonna do? On the Recappa-meter from 1 to 10, this is a 52. Next up, in 5th place, Nynaeve heals Stilling and Gentling. You get a healing, and you get a healing. Everyone gets a healing. Nynaeve is delving Loghain, and we get this. Something about that cut. If it was bridged with fire and spirit, so it was the slight widening of Loghain's eyes that told her what she had done. Nynaeve tells Elaine, go find Shiriam. Tell her I've healed Loghain. Drama! Shiriam and about a dozen other Aes Sedai drag Nynaeve to a dining room. They deliberately piss Nynaeve off, and then they bring forth Swan, who is very annoyed. Swan's like, I've got things to do. And Nynaeve is like, shut up! And she grabs Swan's head. Spirit and fire to mend the break. And for a moment, Swan only stared, expressionless. Then the glow of Saidar enveloped her. Gasps filled the room. Swan leaned forward and kissed Nynaeve on either cheek. And abruptly, Swan was weeping. Shiriam quickly folded her into comforting arms. The rest of the room was staring at Nynaeve. This is a person who, for much of her life, has had people doubt her. She is the ideal wisdom, but no one takes her seriously because she's too young. She's an incredible channeler, but the Aes Sedai write her off as a wilder who will never be on their level. And it hurts her, but at the end of the day, Nynaeve knows what she's capable of. And when she heals Stilling, in spite of what everyone has told her, my heart soars. Get it, girl. On the Recapometer 1 to 10, this is a 70. Coming in at number 4. Nynaeve summons the Malkiri to Tarwin's Gap, and the Golden Crane flies for Tarmon Gai'dan. This part is fantastic! In Knife of Dreams, Lan hints to Nynaeve that he wants to go to the Borderlands. Nynaeve agrees to take him, but she says, I want a promise from you. That you'll ride to Falmaran before you enter the Blight, and that if anyone wants to ride with you, you'll let him. After Lan agrees, Nynaeve weaves a gateway, and Lan goes through. This isn't Shi'onar. It's World's End in Saldea. As far from Shi'onar as you can get and still be in the Borderlands. Nynaeve's like, yep, bye. She heard him call her name, but she let the gateway close behind her. She would give him a chance to survive. Nynaeve goes to a Malkiri merchant in Saldea. You were pointed out to me as a merchant with a wide correspondence. She shows him Lan's signet ring. My name is Nynaeve Tialmiaram Dragarin. The message I want sent is this. My husband rides from World's End toward Tarwin's Gap, toward Tarmon Gai'dan. Will he ride alone? Nynaeve leaves, and the merchant says, Who rides with me for Tarwin's Gap? Garenolin was on his feet, tears glistening his eyes. The Golden Crane flies for Tarmon Gai'dan, he said softly. The Golden Crane flies for Tarmon Gai'dan! Madigan shouted, leaping up so fast he overturned his chair. Laughing, Aldragarin joined them, all three shouting at the top of their lungs. The Golden Crane flies for Tarmon Gai'dan. And by the time Lan reaches Tarwin's Gap, he has an army of 12,000 fighting under the banner of the Golden Crane. Everyone thinks Malkier is dead until Nynaeve says, you know what? Malkier is dead when I say it's dead. Get out there and do your Malkiri thing. And they do, and it's incredible! On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, this is a 95. We've come to the top 3. Coming in at number 3, Nynaeve heals Lana during the last battle. You may be thinking, seriously, Recappa, you cannot put that in 3rd place. Watch me. Why do I love this part so much? To be fair, it's not just about Nynaeve's character. It's about her story and the payoff of this moment. Because here's the thing, it had to be Nynaeve. No one else could have done it. There were those who, in the White Tower, had mocked her reliance on ordinary healing techniques. What could 2 hands and thread do that the one power could not? If any of those women had been here instead of Nynaeve, the world would have ended. Since book 1, Nynaeve has been trying to convince Aes Sedai that herbalism is useful. But the Aes Sedai are like, why would a channeler ever need that? This is why. Nynaeve's skills as a wisdom, her herbs that so many people called useless, turn out to be a superpower. And she uses it to save the world. This bit with Alana is exactly what I was missing from Moiraine at the end of the series. The books pretend Moiraine is the one who needs to be at Sheol Ghul. She's not. The one who really needs to be there is Nynaeve. I think this part with Alana is beautiful storytelling, brilliant payoff. I live for it. On the Recapometer from 1 to 10, this is a 304. And in 2nd place, Nynaeve takes her test for the shawl. This chapter is so much fun to read, but it is messed up. Nynaeve steps into the ter'angreal and, oh my god, let's get into it. She faces an avalanche of boulders and a fist of Trollocs. No problem. She does a weave standing on a narrow tower hundreds of feet in the air with the wind blowing. Okay. Then we get to weave number 48. She hears a child scream. Nynaeve took a step toward the sounds and opened her mouth to call. Black flies swarmed into her mouth, choking her. They got at her eyes, and she had to squeeze them shut. That buzzing, the screams, the biting, like they were in her throat, in her lungs. Next, she has to abandon 4 dying children who are sobbing at her. Please, please, we just want some water. We are dying children. What kind of up person abandons dying children? One of the worst was when she had to form a weave, while villagers were consumed by enormous spiders with bright red fur and crystalline eyes. Ugh. Then Nynaeve's in the 2 rivers, and Perrin and a bunch of Emmons Fielders are being eaten by shadow spawn with freaky black tentacles. Nynaeve's like, screw this, and she starts to run. She embraced the source. Something seemed to try to stop her. She pushed it aside with difficulty, and power flooded her. As Nynaeve is performing the 100th weave, she sees Lan being attacked by a pack of Darkhounds. This was a test. They wanted to push her, see what she could do. Well, let it be. Nynaeve kills Darkhound after Darkhound with Balefire, but they keep coming. She wove Balefire and aimed it directly downward in front of them. The earth split nearby, Darkhounds tumbling in. They run, and Lan falls down, and he's like, oh my god, go on without me. So Nynaeve grabs him and drags him through the doorway. She falls from the ter'angreal, remembering everything. Someone heals her, and then Saren reads everyone for filth. She's like, that test was insane. What's wrong with all of you? She had to be tested properly, Rubinda said. That wasn't proper. That was downright vengeful, Rubinda. It is unimportant, Barrisine the Red said. She failed the test. She broke the rules. She failed. That's all there is to it. I mean, the gall! Ooh, I really smeared my key sign. I gotta go fix that. I almost wish Nynaeve had refused the shawl and told him to f off. The Aes Sedai need her way more than she needs them. But Nynaeve's not sorry she broke the rules to save lives. And she tells Egwene, if I have to choose between Lan and the White Tower, I'll choose Lan. Also, if being Aes Sedai means you can't care about people outside the tower needs to check itself. Yes. And then she passes her test by 1 vote, but honestly, who cares what those bitches think? On a recapometer from 1 to 10, this is a 638. We've come to it at last. Nynaeve Almiera's #1 moment in the Wheel of Time. Nynaeve duels Mogadine in the Panarch's palace. And she wins! And it's the best thing ever! I live for magical combat. It's a huge part of what draws me to the Wheel of Time. This brought the series to a new level for me. Nynaeve is in a columned hall inspecting the male Adom. A servant walks into the room and Nynaeve's like, whatever, she'll leave in a second. Wait, why would she leave? She just walked in to clean. Suddenly Nynaeve sees Mogadine's face clearly and recognizes her. Before thought, she struck out, weaving a hammer-hard flow of air to smash that face. Nynaeve's flow was sliced razor clean. The Forsaken struck with a complex weave of spirit. Nynaeve had no idea what it was meant to do. Frantically, she tried to cut it. For a heartbeat, she felt love, devotion. The intricate weave parted, and Mogadine missed a step. Mogadine starts to monologue like she does. Nynaeve grabs the male Adom, even though it's super painful to touch it, and she throws it at Mogadine's head. It hits her between the eyes, stunning her for an instant, and Nynaeve shields her. Nynaeve expected her to leap for her throat. That was what she would have done. Instead, Mogadine jerked her skirts to her knees and ran. So Nynaeve wraps her up in air and ties off the weave. Mogadine is shook. If you free me, we can come to some arrangement. Ruthlessly, Nynaeve cut her off, weaving a gag of air that held the woman's jaws gaping. Nynaeve's like, oh my god, did I just beat one of the Forsaken? Hell yes I did! I'm Nynaeve Almiera! And then Mogadine escapes so Nynaeve can capture her in the next book. Fabulous! On the recapometer from 1 to 10, this is a 1,174. How do you feel about my list? Do you feel like I missed anything? Let me know in the comments. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. If you can like the video and subscribe, that would be wonderful. If you enjoy Wheel Talk and you want to help it continue and get better, the best way is by sponsoring the show on Patreon. There's a link in the notes. All levels of contribution are amazing. Huge thank you to our patrons. Next week, I'll be away, so there won't be a regular Wheel Talk episode, but I will be working on the LEGO prologue, which I am excited to share. And we will be back on schedule the week after with Chapter 18. It's the one where Moiraine wreaks havoc on the Shadow Spawn before Shadar Logoth. I'm excited. Until then, walk in the light and keep it wheel.